Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Agenda Hour. This is a brand new show that we plan to do every single week, Sunday, 2 p.m. EST, talking about the most trending, most important topics of the week and really pushing out our agendas. We found that when it comes down to the main podcast, the main show, and Open Dojo, we have so much content, so much things to talk about that we can't get into other specific topics. And this just allows us to have more content and more great conversations. So, again, this will be every single week, Sunday, 2 p.m. EST. Moving forward, it'll be at least one of us up here. And then the link will also be allowed for special guests to come onto the show to talk about their agendas or their analysis of whatever topic we're talking about, or Bankai members or BSS lieutenants in the Discord. The link will also be available to you because obviously you're very important to the community that we're creating here. And last thing for people who are listening or watching, that this will be only an hour. It's agenda hour. The only way for this to be expanded more than an hour is if we hit the $20 in terms of super chats, we'll expand it 30 minutes, to give a little goal for it. But ultimately, we're here for an hour to talk agendas. We're here for an hour to talk good conversations. And to start off, for today's first episode of the Agenda Hour, we're talking about the NBA tanking rules. It seems like I'm a little centered a little bit better. The NBA tanking rules. And to join me to talk about the NBA tanking rules, we got Random. What's good, my boy?
What's going on, man? What's going on?
It seems like this tanking stuff has been a topic of conversation for a lot of people, and I can understand why. We'll get into like what those are. I'll pull up the rules itself, but before we get into it, what are your general thoughts?
I think the perception around tanking has hurt it a lot more than what it actually does. Now, mind you, full disclosure, like most people who watch this, so I am the basketball catcher. I'm actually surprised, like Lani or Miles or people who watch more basketball than me aren't here. Like tanking, whether people like it or not, is actually essential. The Bulls don't get Michael Jordan if they don't tank. Like the Cavs don't get LeBron if they don't tank. Like it is. I think it's just the fact that when it's so blatant, that's what people do. And also, it's also the fact that all these rules are coming in for the wrong reasons, if you understand what I mean. Tanking, like you said, has been a problem for years, but we finally wait until FanDuel and all these other gambling companies finally start losing money on it. And now the NBA is trying to do something. Now they've done things before, but also it's one of those where like there's nothing you can realistically do to stop tanking, because there's always going to be a nice guy in the draft, and there's always a team who at one point maybe they'll try for a little bit and then they realize, okay, we're not just that good, and then we're going to tank to try and get Cooper Flag or whoever the next person is in line. But look, it's time, I guess, but the NBA is never truly gonna solve the problem because the owners don't care. Jerry Reinsdorf don't care, right? The Bulls guy or the Utah Jazz coach don't care. He's literally been tanking since Gordon Hayward left. Gordon Hayward left in the mid 2010s, if I remember correctly. They've just been bad ever since. And look, you can keep trying, but sure, you find them $500,000. Bro makes that in a month. He's just going to give you a month or however long it takes for them to make that. He's making billions of dollars. There's legit nothing you can truly do unless you straight up change the owner's mindset. And Matt Ishbia coming out and saying what he said, bro, you trade away all your picks. So of course you can't tank. So don't become this champion of not tanking because you made a dumb decision or what people thought looked right at the time. You traded all your picks. So you can't tank. So it's just one of those where if you want to truly look at the perception of it, Radell, you'll see how grimy this change to the tanking rules or these new rules actually are, because they're not going to truly solve the problem, and they're not doing it for the fans. They're doing it for FanDuel in Vegas or DraftKings or MGM Bet or ESPN Bet, because they're finally losing money and they're finally able to they finally put some pressure on the league. And it's just one thing you have to learn, especially with all these things. It's never about the consumer, despite the fact that they say that. It's just about impressing the person who's paying their pockets, which is crazy because you think the consumers would be that person, but we're not.
Yeah, I will. To be fair, the Jazz historically have not been bad.
Mhm.
Even after Gordon Hayward, they had the Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert years where they were
So
a
you're
conference
right. You're
playoff
you're, you're
team.
right. Yeah.
But generally, I completely agree with your sentiment that tanking, in my opinion, is not a bad thing. I don't have a big issue unless it goes too far, and we can really have a conversation on what the Jazz do, what is that too far, how do we ensure it doesn't go too far. But to tank the last game or the last few games to get a good pick because you have no chance to be competitive in the playoffs because of injuries or whatever reason. I mean, the Mavs did that. They got fined for it, but the Mavs did that because Kyrie and Luka, new team, consistently injured. And then they said, you know what, last couple games we're tanking so we can get our pick and get Derek Lively. And I mean, I'm fine with that. The Spurs tanked for sure, and they've been getting they got Dylan Harper, they got Wemby. There's so much to this whole conversation of tanking that I think is completely overblown. And to
Mhm.
your point, right now, it doesn't seem like it's about making the league more competitive, but who's losing money. That's what the vibe is right now. So let's start off by going over some of the proposed anti-tanking rules that have been suggested. So here are they right here. So the
Mhm.
first one is first round picks can be protected only top 4 or top 14 plus. So this is
Mhm.
one of the rules that they propose. Um, I mean, top 4 protected, I guess we understand that, or top 14 plus. Mm, I don't know how much of the impact this will make in its entirety. I guess it could be cool, but for the most part, I don't see the big deal. I don't think this changes anything in depthly. But what are your thoughts?
I mean, that seems more to protect the owner from doing something dumb, especially a new owner, which is like they call this Bill Simmons calls this new owner syndrome. Like whenever a new owner comes in, he has to immediately like, I'm the owner of this team. So let me do something crazy. Matt Ishbia traded for Kevin Durant. Um uh Prokop, whatever trade the owner of the Nets traded for KG and Paul Pierce. Like, so that seems more like to protect the owner from themselves more than anything. It is cool because I'm not going to hold you. I never understood why trading for a number 8 pick when, at least historically, the number 8 pick doesn't really. I mean, you guys know more about the history. It doesn't really yield a top guy as much as often as a top 4 pick. But I mean, I'm cool with it. There's nothing wrong with that, I guess.
Yeah, I don't see the larger vision for this one in particular. Maybe someone knows something that I don't in terms of what the trickle down effects would be to limit protections. I know it
Mhm.
can get very out of hand. A lot of people had a bunch of different conversations. Draft picks have been traded so much. You would see a time where a team would have a pick in the lottery, and it's because of like 7 different merry-go-rounds of a pick for different transactions that happen throughout history over the last like 5, 6 seasons, and it can get pretty annoying. But I don't think this will stop that by any means, and I don't think this will affect whether players tank or not. Because if a player doesn't have that protection, the other team, that team in general, may not tank or may tank. It doesn't. It depends. But that doesn't really limit any other teams from tanking in regards to the situation. Maybe I'm just overthinking it, but this one doesn't really mean much to me overall. But
Mhm.
if their picks aren't protected, like after the top 4, I mean, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, it's still protected. So or it's not protected, but the top 4 is protected. Those bad teams that already have that protection will still tank. So again, it doesn't really mean much to me. The other rule is lottery odds freeze at the trade deadline or a later date. Now, this is a big one, meaning where when the trade deadline is, they'll do the lottery of the standings as it is, and those lottery odds for that current records is frozen, and no matter how many games you lose moving forward, it doesn't matter. Your draft pick is already set.
Won't that just incentivize teams to not even pretend to put like to put, oh, maybe we have a chance this year. They're just going to tank earlier. So instead of maybe by January or by even getting close to All-Star, they're just going to start tanking from earlier in the season. Wouldn't that just do that? Like for instance, the Jazz this year are just going to start tanking at the start of the season instead of when they started officially tanking.
Even worse, like teams that have like an injured superstar or something that's gonna come in like later in the season, like they're gonna be set up with better draft odds. Like if for some reason, like say Kyrie Irving decided to come back this year or whatever, the Mavs would had the Mavs would have a top pick, and then they can still, in all honesty, like push for the playoffs with with a top pick because the thing ended before the trade deadline. The trade deadline is even before the All Star break. That's even before halfway through the season. So that I don't think that one's gonna stick because there's just too many different variables. Like a team can have a bad start and then come back in the second half, finish strong, and then still be set up for next season with the lottery odds. So
That seems like somebody just threw that out in the meeting and they said, "Oh, that's a good idea. Let's do that," instead of actually really thinking about it.
look at the Hornets right now. The Hornets were struggling a lot earlier in the season. Now they're on a tear, beating everybody. But so like what they end up being like the sixth or fifth seed this year, and then they end up with a top 3 pick. That doesn't seem right.
This seems short-sighted because, like you said, Random, teams will start tanking in the middle of the season. When it comes down to the overall attention of basketball fandom, they are paying attention a lot in the beginning of the season because NBA is back. We're locked in. We get to see these new players, these new teams. And then it starts toning down and around the middle of the season. That's why they incorporated the in-season tournament. Mm-hmm. And then to All-Star break around there, there's a fluctuation of people paying attention. But around this time is when your viewership is probably around its lowest. And you're going to make it even worse now that teams are purposely tanking for better draft odds, because what you might be preventing is later on when the season's about to end, those teams tanking. Oh, well, now their tanking means nothing. Well, nobody gives a fuck about these bad teams anyway. We all care about the playoff teams that are about to make it to the play-in. So you're not really doing anything in terms of viewership at that point. So, yeah, this is stupid. This is beyond a dumb idea because of what both of you guys said, and especially what Lani said. What if we have a situation where someone gets healthy and now they have the first pick and they win the championship? What are we doing? Like, what kind of league are we creating at that point? It's ridiculous. The other one is no longer allowing a team to pick top 4 in consecutive years and or after consecutive bottom 3 finishes. So this prevents bad teams for having good picks in consecutive years. So like the Patriots wouldn't be able to get Drake May and then also get Will Campbell the year after.
Well, here's the problem with that because, this is more of a NBA problem. Small market teams only really have a certain number of ways to get better. They don't really have the same avenues as like free agency and things like that, and they probably don't have like the same type of capital with their owners as like other big market teams. So drafting and trades are like the best way for those small teams to get better. Like Milwaukee's been like a top team for years. How many big time free agents have they signed? None. They had to trade all their assets for Damian Lillard. They had to trade for Drew Holiday back then and stuff like that. No, people don't just want to go to those small market teams, even with superstars. So teams like Sacramento, Charlotte, like the very small market teams are going to suffer from this. Like Utah, like because they're going to be bottom. Like if they pick 2 and then like they get 4 the next year, like now they're like they end up with 7 or 8. Like I don't really see that one going through, but I don't know. I don't think that's a good solution either. I mean, it's not a bad one, but it would prevent people from just tanking outright. But I don't think that's gonna.
All right,
bottom teams.
You gotta say something random?
Yeah, I mean, looking at me, what if you meet a shameless owner? Like Lani and I talked about this on Xbox Live. Was it yesterday, Lani? Where you try to tell me, like, okay, Jerry Reisdorf, I'm going to keep using him because it's okay. It's cool that the Bulls every now and then make the play-in. These rules so far, obviously we haven't gone through all of them, changes nothing about how he does his job. So now he just milks his fans again. And now you tell him he makes it in the plane and he still gets the same lottery odds, and he still gets lottery odds. It changes nothing about how he does it. And he's looks like he's always just going to constantly benefit from this rule, because he doesn't care about making his team better. Really, he doesn't. What about the arena? What about all this? Like, he just doesn't care about getting the Bulls to even to the thing. He just knows he's going to make $1 billion every year, and he's fine doing that. And he's been fine doing that for decades. Sure, he'll get a Derrick Rose, but those players are a dime a dozen. They don't come they don't show up all the time. So now you're getting a DeMar DeRozan, a Zach LaVine, you get all this. You're just getting 42 wins, and that's cool. Every now and then, like for instance, when Sacramento was doing the Light the Beam, they were winning 45 games because they've been bad for a long time. That matters, but guess what? You're supposed to constantly get better. The Bulls and teams like them are not constantly getting better. So if you meet a shameless owner, and what are you going to do? Fight him $500,000 again? That doesn't matter to him. So that's where I'm at.
My issue though with that is that these teams that are mediocre also are not getting good picks. Like when they're bad, this recent draft lottery, the Mavs got the first pick, and that was some BS. The Spurs got a top pick, and the Sixers got a top pick. The worst team in the league was the Jazz, and they didn't get a top pick. It's just, I don't think the lottery has been doing a good job in making these bad teams better. And in this situation, in a circumstance where the lottery is oftentimes not really favoring them, and then we can really get into conspiracy because I don't know, there's been a lot of people talking about the rigged lottery. These bad teams not being able to get a top 4 pick when they already are struggling getting a top pick because of the lottery. How do you expect them to become better? I don't understand how you expect them to become better without good players, because even the whole trade and signing, Lani made a perfect point. These players don't want to go to bad teams in the first place. And if you don't have a player to like create a good market around, they're not going to be incentive to go play with that player at all. So yeah, I just don't understand that.
Everyone loves Ant, Radell. Who's going to Minnesota? Who's going to Minnesota to play with Ant? Nobody. Nobody's going to Minnesota. Like
apparently, Ant wants to get out of Minnesota. He's been talking about going to Atlanta.
You think everyone in their mama would want to go to Miami? Miami hasn't landed a superstar since LeBron. They missed out on Dame. They missed out on KD. They missed out on Donovan Mitchell. Like they missed out on Kyrie. Like no one goes to Miami. So it's like these teams. Oh, it's and like we talk about the lottery. The lottery is supposed to be. What's the word I'm looking for?
Fair.
Everyone has a shot at the lottery. That's what the point of the lottery is. It's supposed to be up to chance. We all know it's not really up to chance. Like it's I'm sorry. Like some things don't just happen. Like AD requests for a trade, and then all of a sudden, the Pelicans get the number 1 pick. They get Zion. Cleveland.
Lani saved that because I'm pulling up that article about what Pablo Torre was talking about, and what who was it? Wasn't an NBA player and executives were talking about the lottery? We'll talk about that in a second as well, because hey man, it's disgusting. But continue on. Teams can't pick top 4 the year after making the conference finals.
This is just a Thunder Indiana rule. Literally.
I low-key like it though. I'm not gonna lie. I low-key like this one. Bro, I'm a hater. I hate the Thunder. I hate how they have all these draft picks. I hate it. I just
they did it the right way.
But they did it the right way.
They literally.
This is not like the. So hold on. We're gonna punish the Thunder because they legit did everything the right way. They got the right GM. They fleeced all these people who took, and then they also picked the right people. I'm not gonna punish them.
Salary dumps. Who took them on? OKC. When people wanted to trade assets and things like that, who took them on? OKC. Who drafted well? OKC. J-Dub wasn't supposed to be no superstar. He wasn't no projected 20-point per game scorer. No, they found him when I remember I thought like, Trey Mann's gonna be like their next big scorer off the bench and stuff like that. They drafted J-Dub. I was like thinking like they already have a bunch of guards. They don't need J-Dub. Now J-Dub's their second best player. So it's like
I'm fine with how they built their team now. It's like, fine, sure, whatever. They have crazy depth. It's a little annoying. I'm a little jealous as a fan of the disgusting Laker roster right now.
No one told the Sixers to trade him Jared McCain.
I hear you, but at the same time, how crazy would it be if the Thunder win the championship and then one of the picks that they have end up being AJ DeBonsa, Darren Peterson, or Cam Boozer? That'd be crazy. That'd be disgusting.
Blame the Clippers and Kawhi. Blame the Clippers.
I do. They're stupid, but I also want to enjoy NBA.
Get mad at them. Then get mad at the Clippers. What OKC is doing right now has literally, at least to the best of my memory, has never happened. A team that has worked the whole league in a way that they're literally benefiting from it, and now you want to take away the anomaly because they did their job correctly?
Yeah, random. I think they might be like outside, like them and the Dodgers. They're the best team in sports. Period. Because
they've invested in everything. They got good owners. They make good money. They got the right coach. They got the right scouting department. They literally did everything right, and now they're being punished for it. Even if that's crazy, capital,
not their fault. They have the best young talent, not their fault. They have They have one of the best cap space situations, not their fault. So it's like they did everything perfect. It's almost like it's a little bit worse than the Warriors because like the Warriors, like they drafted Draymond, Clay, and Steph, and like they were cooking. Then they also had Harrison Barnes. They brought in Iguodala, and they were cooking everybody. Then they brought in Durant, and it was just like, all right, now it's over the top. But they became super top heavy when originally before KD joined. People were complaining that the Warriors' depth was what was really killing because they also had Sean Livingston, they had Barbosa, they had a bunch of people off the bench that was killing them. Then when they gave it all up for KD, people were complaining even more. Now it's the opposite. Now it's like, yo, they have so much depth, they have so much draft capital. We like Topic, who just came back from cancer, hasn't played yet. Or he just played in the G League. He dropped 20. He dropped like 20 and 7 coming off of battling cancer. He's gonna be their backup point guard. Their center that they just drafted this year tore his ACL, but he's a defensive monster. So when he comes back, that's another piece. So it's like they're doing everything the right way. No, I actually don't mind that Indiana's going to get a top pick because we all know Indiana overachieved last year. Indiana definitely overachieved. We don't know what Tyrese is going to be when he gets back. Siakam's already old. Who else you got?
Miles Turner left. Like there's a reason why they're this.
They need another star. I'm not mad that Indiana.
This wouldn't apply to Indiana because Indiana made the finals last year. This year they're not going to make the finals.
But if the rules were implemented this year, Indiana wouldn't get a top 4 pick despite how bad they are. Because they made the conference, they made the finals last year.
Like whatever.
This year they won't make the conference. finals.
No. But I'm saying if let's just say this: if under these rules, because Jack John's actually doing like showing you how what the implements of this are, like,
and the lottery is rigged, so the Dallas example doesn't work. But go ahead, continue.
Okay,
continue.
But okay,
we'll get into it, bro. I'll
just looking at this, if the rules are already implemented, now we're sitting here and I'm like, yo, these rules are unfair toward Indiana because Tyrese Halliburton happened to tear his Achilles. Miles Turner left, and Siakam is not able to carry the load. So now we're sitting here. Indiana's getting punished because they literally a freak circumstance happened to their star, and now they're being punished for it. Despite the fact
they're not. Indiana's not being punished. Based off my understanding of this rule, the only person that will be punished will be like the Thunder if they make it to the finals this year and then try to also get a top pick this year. That would be crazy to me.
My question would be if the odds make them in the top 4, do they just automatically get the 5 pick?
I think that's probably what it would be, and at least there's like
OKC the pick would be the best pick of the draft.
It still won't be. It still be tough. It still won't be fair. But at the very least, the generational prospects, like the top 3 this year, won't be going to a team that's already freaking stacked like hell. So I'm not thinking of it, but I'm not okay. When it comes down to talking about the NBA, there's different perspectives you can go. You can go to the analyst route. You can go to the coach route. You can go to the GM route. I'm talking about the fan route. I don't want to see the Thunder get a top 3 pick. So, of course, I'm not going to be in favor of this. Yeah, but you like Shea, so of course you want to see that. I don't want to see it. I am not interested in it. One, I'm not interested in terms of the polarity of the league. Oh, no. But also, I want these 3 players to go to their own team and flourish and become their own star.
We got a $2 super chat by Angie Carr. Humor me. How about a second-tier league or relegate? Which Sandro has actually been kind of in favor of. I just think the G League is not even though it would legitimately piss people teams off, and I think they get better. I just don't think the G League is the team, because the amount of resources you'd have to give them just for them to even be able to participate in the NBA would be insane. But the problem is, what's the other league that you'd relegate them to, if not the G League?
The biggest problem is that the talent pool isn't big enough, because the worst team in the NBA is still going to beat the best G League team by 40 every single night. Like, so what's the worst team right now? Sacramento. So have a healthy Sacramento. You have Russell Westbrook, Zach LaVine, Domantas Sabonis, Russell Westbrook going up against Victor Oladipo.
Also, those stars wouldn't play. Russell Westbrook's not going to play in the G League.
Exactly.
He's not going to do it.
Well, it's like, if you make the play, like,
talent gap is too huge.
The worst team's still going to beat the best G League team by 50. So it's like, what's the point? They're just the same team's just going to go right back up.
So unless you're willing it doesn't make logistical sense to get a European team, because that just the logistics alone would be insane. So I'm to be honest with you, Santo, I'm not mad at your relegation. It's just that you either have to create a whole nother league, or for some reason I don't know. I don't know the answer, because every answer that comes in my head does not make sense. College, no, that doesn't make sense.
You would either have to add a bunch of more players, add a lot more professional players, add more teams, or you would have to cut the league. Like the worst 8 teams is now in this kind of their own bubble of a lesser league, so to speak. But yeah, none of that's happening. I don't think that's just going to ruin so much. Like you said, it's too much logistics.
You watch the G League half the time. Like when people send their rookies to the G League, that G League player is usually the best player on that team. It's like the rookie that's averaging 4 points averages 25 and 8, and then you want to regulate the worst NBA teams when like they're going up against basically a rookie that can't get playing time as the other team's best player. That's not going to work. And
yeah, it's kind of cooked. Also, to address something Jack said, I think so. This could be one of those based off interpretation statements. Teams can't pick up top 4 the year after making conference finals. I'm interpreting it the year, as in the year of like the conference finals, or the year that they're drafting. And then after making conference finals, like after they made the conference finals that year, and then they're drafting, they also can't get the top 4 pick. So there might be like a punctuation thing here, or just misinterpretation, but I think that probably just makes more sense. They don't want the best teams also getting a top pick, is probably their thinking. But Lani, you were saying, I cut you off.
No, I agree, because like they consider like the draft the start of the new year, so it would be the new year. The next year, they wouldn't be able to do it, because like that year's draft would be the rookies that they draft.
I don't think so, Santo.
Exactly. Continuing on, let's wrap up these proposals. Lottery odds allocated based on 2-year records. So your record this year and your record last year would determine your lottery odds.
See, this one I'm kind of cool with, because it would technically force the Jazz to be like, all right, bro, you can't just be ass. Like, you have to try. Now, they're not good enough, so maybe they win 35 games or maybe 40 and maybe have a dance with, like, trying to get in the play-in. So I guess that's going to force them. But even
what
then...
if they're asked 2 years? What if they're asked for 2 years?
Well, they're not going to get consecutive picks. So you're just going to keep going, I guess. It's one of the better rules on here, and I still don't like it. Soccer's different. Soccer has multiple leagues, Santo. Like, there's okay, so we have the Premier League. The second league in England is better than the G League. Like, I don't think it would solve the problem. And also, with how I'm sorry, imagine trying to convince Russell Westbrook, Domantas Sabonis to try to go play in the G League. Imagine trying to do that. They're not. They'll be like, we're not doing this.
Well,
we're not.
It's just next year. You want Tyrese Halliburton in the G League? Like Tyrese, that wouldn't make any sense. But also, like, I think it was Santo. They said like it would force the players to be more competitive. The players being more competitive isn't the problem. Like, what was it, like last week or 2 weeks ago? The Utah Jazz were up by like double digits at halftime, and then they sat all their starters after like the first few minutes of the third quarter. They still somehow ended up winning with like their 4th string point guard going crazy. But it's like, if the coaches and the GM are sitting players for a whole second half when they're up by double digits, so they can try to lose a game. Has nothing to do with the play. That's not the player's fault.
And when you say establish the league, obviously the NBA, like, okay, but if how are you going to establish the league? Like, where the only place where I ever see G League games is on NBA TV. That's the only place. They're not going to be able to convince ESPN to pay for those games. People, like, NBA ratings have been declining. Like, they've been declining slowly in the NBA. So imagine them trying to watch G League games for people they don't know, they don't recognize. They're not going to do that. No network in their right mind is going to throw money behind that. So how are you going to establish it?
Beyond the players,
I'm not mad at your rules. Just that I think you're underestimating the logistics to get that done.
Beyond the players, the owners will definitely not do this because they're going to lose so much value of their team being relegated. They're going to lose the viewership. They're going to lose the attention. The owners will say, hell no, I'm not allowing this to happen. So I just don't think this is plausible
Also,
in any way, shape, or form.
Think of like the new rookies like coming up and stuff like that. Like if the Mavericks struggle, we're not going to see Cooper Flag in the league. We're going to see Cooper Flag. We have to go to the G League to watch Cooper Flag. I ain't doing that shit. If the Spurs never got all their picks and it was just Wemby on the Spurs, Wemby in the G League with like Solchan and a bunch of other scrubs, like, no, I ain't watching that shit. Like that shit
yeah.
Santo, I definitely understand what you mean, but you're saying that's the point. Besides the fact that Radell said it, the owner's not going to let that happen. The amount of money you have to freaking pay to even establish the league themselves. Now you have to sell that. You also have to sell those teams. You have to sell them. So remember a few years ago when that dude from the South Bay Lakers he's been playing the G League for 10 years and he finally goes up and plays like the last game with the Lakers, Lani, whatever the dude's name was, right? You have to sell that guy. That's cool in a one-off story at the end of the season, right? But now you have to sell that guy for the whole season. So now I'm sitting here, on a Wednesday marquee, you got Shea versus insert random Zaire Wade from the South Bay Lakers. That's not going to sell the game. That's not going to sell it.
Unless you're Bronny James, it's definitely not selling it. Let's continue because there's so much more that we got to talk about. So lottery extended to include all play-in teams. I hate this. I don't think play-in teams should be getting lottery odds personally.
That would be ridiculous.
That'd be very dumb.
At least now Miami can get lottery odds.
So yeah,
that's different. That's different though. Besides the fact that Unrivaled is
also 3v3. It's a whole it's a different game.
Yeah, they're not the same league. They're not. That wouldn't work. And then the last one is flattened odds for all lottery teams. I hate this too. What this is telling me is that you don't give a fuck about the bad teams. These bad teams, you don't care about them. You don't care if they get a good pick. And this is what all these suggestions kind of tell me.
You're allowing the Pelicans owner to still be ass.
But real quick about
that's what you're doing.
Real quick about Unrivaled. I did love that 1v1 competition that they did. I think that was fire. If the NBA ever was men enough to do that, I think that would be like
my boy Jaylen Brown said he would do it.
Yeah, Anthony Edwards going up against like D Mitch or something like that. That would cook. That would cook. Also that shimmy that Jackie Young did. I swear to God, I'm doing it to one of y'all. I'm doing the little shimmy to one of y'all in Houston. I'm probably not gonna get the shot off. I'm gonna pull it off. I'm disrespectful.
I'm not gonna hold you.
Good luck.
I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like I can guard a WNBA player, but I could guard that. That was egregious.
She went go.
I'd just be sitting there like the other girl, like, what is she doing? Oh, she's about to shoot, jump. And like that's the one play where I'm like, I got that.
The problem with your comparison with the Unrivaled League is Unrivaled is all the best is usually the cream of the crop WNBA players playing against each other. It's also 3v3, and it's also to combat the WNBA because the WNBA is not paying anybody. They're still not paying anybody.
Yeah,
so it's
so it has the same players on Unrivaled.
It's only people. It's only made up of players that people are gonna watch. Like I don't think Wilson's in there, but like you have Angel Reese just came back there. Jackie Young, Kelsey Plum, like all the top, Breonna Stewart, the top WNBA players that have name face value are in the league. It's not like the 8th person off the bench is in the unrivaled league. No, it's not. That's not what's going on. It's like the best people of the sport are putting on a show. That's different than regulating the top tier G League players going up against the bottom tier NBA players.
$2 super chat from Andy Carr. The Knicks small markets don't punish big ones.
So take away billions of dollars. What are we doing?
So Angie, that doesn't matter. The Knicks were okay. The Knicks were after Carmelo, and even then they were mid with Carmelo. They were bad for the majority until they got this new Jalen Brunson era going. They were bad. So you're just going to be like, okay, so don't punish the big ones. The Knicks were big and they were bad until they got lucky enough to get what they have now. Whether you like it, Chicago is still a big market in the NBA. So now we're going to let Chicago because OKC is technically still a small market. OKC is still a small market. So it just seems there's no like if you're gonna go that way, then maybe do what they wanted, what Adam Silver threw out there, and basically going full baseball. It just kind of sucks if you're gonna go full baseball because I guess it was kind of cool when you get like a team like Kansas City, which just finally puts everything together and they're able to go to the World Series twice and win one. That's cool. But then what's Kansas City been doing since? Because that's a rarity, and now people kind of lament that because now it's only the big market teams who will ever have a chance to win a championship.
Look, also, another thing is, I get like I hear you, Santo and Angie, and what you guys are saying, but ultimately it's just not plausible. It's just not even realistic. It's not a worthwhile conversation because at the end of the day, these markets and these owners will never do this. They will not potentially tank the value of their teams to be relegated for what? Being more competitive. They care about profit over everything else. So this won't help.
You wouldn't even be able to include the G League. You would have to like cut the NBA teams in half and then like make it like that. So it's like the bottom half are like in a second tier league. So like 15 teams in our second tier league and the other top 15 are in another tier league. It would have to be something like that. And even that would still not work well.
Also using regulation for that Premier League. The Premier League has been doing that for decades before this amount of money was involved. So they got to figure it out early when people weren't watching, and then they were able to adjust with it as they made more money to just now introduce this whole new system in an era where billions of dollars are flying around. I don't think that's feasible, especially in the American culture. Like it's the American culture of sports is way different than it is in Europe. It just is.
Yeah, it falls off a cliff next year because like Jimmy Butler's not gonna come back till late in the season. Draymond Green's even older. Steph even older. If they're in the second league that we were talking about, Golden State, are they still gonna be wanting to pay Steph Curry $60 million a year when he's in the second league? Like that doesn't make no sense.
Yeah. And then to address what Jack is saying here, another point regarding flattening all the odds, more teams will take. I feel like when people offer these proposals, they actually don't think about the ramifications of these proposals. If you flatten the odds where the 13 teams all have the same odds, you know what's going to happen with the 14th worst team, the 15th worst team, the 16th worst team, and the 17th worst team? They realize, well, I could make the play-in, or I could tank to an odd for the first pick. More teams will tank. That's what will happen. More teams will tank. So it's not actually solving the issue that's going on in regards to tanking. And now this begs the other question on what would be a plausible solution. And in my opinion is very clear. Remove the lottery. I think it's fucking stupid. We don't need a lottery. The worst team should get the best pick, just like the NFL. And then price in tanking and add punishments when they go over the threshold. Simple. In the last game of the NFL season, if you want to tank, fine. Who cares? Nobody's watching the final game of the NFL season anyway. If the last week of the NBA season you want to tank, who cares? Whatever. But if you go beyond that, and we can tell when you go beyond that, then they get in trouble. I think that's enough. But overall, the whole lottery system and trying to do all this extra stuff, I don't think it actually helps in any way, shape, or form. worst teams should get the best pick. So now the bad teams, the real bad teams, can finally get good players. That's what needs to happen. They need to get good players. Lani, you were about to say something?
What was I about
I
to
just
say?
think the tough part is there's just no lily white solution to this, and
Tanking has always been a thing in sports, like forever.
especially because we know that tanking does work. I just think whether or not it's been overblown or we've been conditioned by the media or other things, or the fact that they're doing this, but the reasons behind it are not like the healthiest reasons. Like, you know, like we were complaining about this for years, and the NBA said they were going to try to do something. They finally tried to do something, and that something didn't work. And the only reason we're really doing it is because people want to gamble. And even Kendrick Perkins came out and just said it on ESPN. They're doing this because of gambling. It's not because they want to make the game better. It's because of gambling.
Yeah,
So don't sit there and let them lie to you about that.
It's literally about gambling because like what?
Oh, well, here's the quote right here. I think one key aspect to this with Utah, if you're not playing guys in the fourth quarter, how many bets is that impacting? Oliver said on the Greatest of All Talk podcast. We know how much the NBA has gotten in bed with gambling. Over-unders are at stake. Player props are at stake. If coaches are just willy-nilly not playing guys the entire game and they're not letting people know in advance, you're going to have a lot of angry gamblers and a lot of angry gambling companies. And this is a report cracking down on late game tanking due to the NBA's heavy ties to gambling. We don't know if this is true, but this is an allegation that definitely has a lot of validity considering how much money and how much a lot of these professional sports teams have been getting very gambling friendly. All of them have a DraftKings sponsorship nowadays.
Yeah,
So
there's something.
can I address the two things? Toast. Once again, the Premier League has had decades to establish this process before hundreds of millions of pounds or dollars were involved. So yeah, and also imagine trying to convince Jerry Reinsdorf that yes, you and the 30 other owners in this league, we need $100 million of you so we can take the South Bay Lakers and make them at least be NBA, make them at least NBA competitive, at least attempt to. Also, Mark Cuban is not the rest of the NBA owners. Mark Cuban is not even the primary owner for the fucking Mavericks anymore. That's why he's low-key trying to get another group to buy it back for some reason. They're not going to give it back to you, bro. You're the one who sold it because for some reason, besides the fact you could do all that. So yeah, like it's just not going to work. You could try it now, Santo, but now you got to convince 30 of the richest people you've ever met, including Steve Ballmer, who is literally under investigation by the federal government in regards to the freaking cap circumvention with aspiration to give up a significant portion of his money so that he could establish, I'm using South Bay because that's the only G League team that I know, the South Bay Lakers as being NBA competitive. You can't even convince 30 people to give money to fix a tire, but you want to convince them to give millions of dollars.
Yeah, I don't know if y'all talk to millionaires or billionaires, but trying to get money out of them is like pulling teeth. You're trying to convince them to lose millions upon millions of dollars for now to make the sport that they not all of them really care about. They see it as a business venture, more competitive or more fair. Whatever. They don't care about fairness. They care about bottom line and bottom dollars. This is America. This ain't Europe. This ain't about integrity. This is about the love of the game, the love of the sport.
Relegation works in Europe because they've had time to make it work. It's not going to work in the American market. It's really not.
It's just not a proposal that is realistic to the current owners. And Mark Cuban, I do also think is in a step, and I also think he makes a really good point. Overall, like I said, tanking is really not a big deal in my opinion. I think there's just a lot of people who are upset about it for different reasons potentially. And in this circumstance, you can price in, you can create solutions with the owners in mind because ultimately, like everybody's saying, this is a business. Just create a solution that they will also like. In order for things to actually happen in the NBA, you have to convince them. You have to give them something that they actually want to do. You can't just do something without their approval. That's just not how it works. So how are you going to convince them to potentially lower the value of their product with the teams that they own, especially the owners that own bad teams right now? You think the Kings owners like, oh, yeah, I definitely want that.
Yeah, I want to go up to Grand Rapids now instead of selling tickets against the Lakers. No, they're not doing that shit. They're not doing that shit.
So
also,
I think
here's the combination of everything that's going on. the last 4 or 5 drafts overall have been weak. They've been like some of the weakest overall drafts in the last 15, 20 years. Outside like the top picks like Wemby and Anthony Edwards, stuff like that. Most of the drafts, the last few years have been very, very weak. Now this draft coming up is a generational draft, which has a chance to be one of the top drafts in our lifetime. Like the 12th pick in this year's draft would be top 3 a few years ago. So yes, teams are taking their asses off because last 2 drafts that they've struggled, they haven't got any impact players. Like Utah, Ace Bailey, he has potential, hasn't really panned out. Last 2 drafts for Utah, they haven't really amounted to much. So it's like teams not getting great prospects.
I would give Ace Bailey some time.
Yeah, no, I still believe in Ace Bailey. But I'm saying like he hasn't been like the rest of the draft class so far. Like he has potential, but it's going to take some time. But last 2 drafts, Reed Shepard went number 3, and his comp was fucking Kirk Heinrich. I like Reed Shepard. But if you're a top 3 pick and your comp is a future role player, a future 6th, 7th man off the bench, that's not really high. Now the freaking 9th prospect this year is freaking his comp is Damian Lillard and Stephon Marbury. That nigga's on crack. Like this draft has cracked the hell out. So yes, everybody's taking because everyone thinks like, yo, I can get my franchise player this draft. The future is in this draft. So everyone is going above and beyond to tank. On top of that, gambling is becoming more prevalent in the NBA and more of a showcase. So people are tanking more than usual, which has affected gambling, which is becoming bigger in the NBA. And so it's colliding, and that's why it's causing all these big issues. They don't care about the integrity; they care about the money. This is America. This isn't Europe.
Yeah, and solutions can work both ways, Santo, for me. So if my solution of taking away the lottery because I think it sucks, and pricing in and doing more appropriate punishments for very clear tanking, I think can work in the sense that you remove the lottery and the worst teams get good picks. That's going to raise the value of the bad team. So all those owners that have bad teams, now they can know for certain that they can get a good player. And if a good team gets a very bad record, they know for a fact that they can get a good player. So there's more certainty of getting value. So that's going to be appealing to owners right off rip. And if there's more competitive teams and more teams that are being created into stars, because another thing you could say is that a bad team can create a team around a single star, and they can market that star and create, because NBA is a star-driven league. Sometimes big stars are like hitting in the roster because they're on a stacked roster, but you just have more opportunity to market individual players on individual teams. It just provides potentially more value, and the competitiveness also provides potentially more value. So there's an incentive for it's going to grow the overall market for the league in general. And then if you can make it where it's like the final couple of games where people are tanking, you could just say like these are developmental games and you're raising the value of the younger assets by allowing them to compete because you know you're going to suck anyway and not make the playoffs. Fans are also okay with that. You know how pissed I was that the Giants decided to win the final game of the season and we couldn't get Drake May? I was pissed. Why are we winning the final game? Fans actually don't like that. So it's bad when it's in the middle of the season. And we could talk about like harsh punishments on blatant takings for the middle of the season where it's like it's just nonsense. You're just tanking the entire season at that point. You don't care about the product overall. But tanking in general is not a bad thing. I think it's getting overblown. I don't think it's that bad.
So, Angie, the craziest part is about your statement is that we agree. I think all of us can agree with you. The problem is the way you guys want to do it, the owners will not let that happen. So unless Adam Silver is literally unless he's literally going to go rogue
and try to get himself fired
and try to get himself fired, we have to find another way. Because the way you want to, because if you want to look at the NFL was very smart. Like the NFL has been very smart in how they've deliberately made themselves this great power. Now, is the NFL perfect? Hell no. We all know that. But they found a way to make the entire process continually make them billions of dollars. And now they're expanding internationally. And that's where they could run into some problems. But that's a discussion for another day. Right now, just the way they've built this, and they've been building this over decades, they've hit a point where unless they radically change their unless they radically decide to change the way they do business, This is it. This is what we're getting. And they're not going to do that. They're really not.
And there's nothing really wrong with tanking. It's just how you go about tanking. Like there's ethical tanking and then there's non-ethical tanking. Like what the Wizards are doing right now. The Wizards are doing ethical tanking. Trae Young, they're shutting down for whatever injuries or whatever. Anthony Davis is paper mache anyway. But what are they doing? They're playing all their young players as much as possible, knowing that they're not going to win a lot of games, but they're going to develop players. I'm fine with that. I'm fine. Now, what I'm not fine with is Utah being up by 20 and then sitting all their starters. That's unethical tanking. There's different ways to go about things. I think that's what's also bothering people. It's the way they go about it. But it happens everywhere. Like a few years ago with the Texans, or I want to say more than a few years ago, Lovie Smith, they had a chance to get the number 1 pick to get Bryce Young. He said, "Fuck all that." He won the game, got fired the next day.
He's lucky they got CJ Stroud, but yeah, that was a very bad decision. And then, okay, I think in my opinion, it wouldn't have been. This is why this is also weird, because if the Jazz just played, imagine this, right, Lani and Random, imagine the Jazz just played all their young players from the start of the game. Imagine if Ace Bailey was playing the entire game. And imagine if Ace Bailey went crazy. Nobody would be talking about tanking. The only reason why people are talking about tanking is because some bettors lost a lot of money when those starters got sat, because that's the only logical reason why people are upset, because everybody wants to see Ace Bailey play.
I personally was mad because we played fantasy basketball. I'm playing a Radell this week. But the week that they did that tanking thing, Lauri Markkanen, I think he was cooking like that first half of the game. I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, he's got like 18 points right now. I'll probably end up with something like 30-something. He sat the rest of the game. I was pissed. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, of course. And then there's this other conversation. The draft lottery. This is why I hate the draft lottery at this point. I think it's super unethical. And then we got Pablo Torre saying that 2 owners told him at the event that they believe the lottery was fixed for the Mavericks to draft Duke standout Cooper Flagg with the number 1 pick.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I was at the event. I spoke to 2 NBA owners. This was the day after the NBA lottery. And those 2 owners were both like, this was obviously fixed. I'm saying literally 2 NBA owners did not trust the hand of Adam Silver to remain out of the proceedings in terms of rigging the NBA lottery. And before anybody goes crazy on Adam Silver, it was probably fixed with David Stern too. I'm not going to lie. So
Patrick Ewing.
I think Derrick Rose was David Stern, right? Yeah.
What the Chicago had like
LeBron James.
Chicago had the 11th best odds, and they got. But it's like we see this happen every time there's a big shift. We see this happen. Remember when Anthony Davis got traded that year, the year before, I think it was the Olympics or whatever, or a little bit, maybe a few years, but like KD's like, oh, he's the new face of the league. He's a future MVP. Anthony Davis was at the pinnacle of his powers, going crazy. He wanted out. Everyone was going crazy. How about she wanted out? What happens? They trade him, and then they get Zion immediately.
I mean,
what's the odds of that happening?
Look.
Sucking for years. They get LeBron. Oh, LeBron leaves. They get Kyrie.
I mean, Angie,
real quick.
That's American culture this right there. I don't know what to tell you.
Since Angie added me, my point is that the fans don't care. Like they don't care that these teams are tanking. It's the way that they're tanking in the Jazz situation that got people pissed. But honestly, a lot of diehard fans for teams prefer tanking anyway to get good players. You think the Bears are pissed that they got Caleb Williams? You think the Commanders are pissed they got Jaden Daniels? Hell, you think the Spurs are pissed they got Wemby? Now the Mavs are pissed they got Cooper Flagg because Luka Doncic should still be on the team. But
I think they're happy with Cooper.
Teams are okay with it.
Look, I mean, that's culture. Like that's how parents like it astounds me to this day. Right. That's probably why I don't really, especially with football, but like, the Jets are going to be bad. Like, the Jets are going to be bad. And I still remember that clip because I think we've all seen it. This guy standing outside the Jet stadium and this kid, he's like 15, 16, walking out the stadium. And he's like, I hate this team. I was born into this. I'm going to die with it. No, you don't. You don't. You can literally just go decide to watch the Chiefs and your life will just be better watching the game. No, you don't. But for some reason, we've been indoctrinated in this because our parents were indoctrinated and their parents indoctrinated them into it. You don't have to support these people. Jerry Jones consistently lies to the Cowboys that this is their year. Because guess what? He's milking y'all for money. That's all he does. That's why they're one of the highest rated or highest value teams in the league. Because that's all he does. For some reason, y'all buy that stuff. And when you don't have to, like for instance, if the Manchester United is bad now, right? They're bad. And people take to the streets. They literally go out and vote like, what the fuck is this? That's not what we're paying you for. That's why they're so quick in Europe to fire coaches when things don't work out, to get rid of players when things don't work out. Like, that's why I'm sitting there like, you don't have to do it. Like, okay, because I played the game, I played football and I played in college. I got to see a little bit how the business worked. I was done. I didn't watch football for a while after I stopped playing. But then after that, I was like, I'm just going to watch teams that make me happy. Sure, I was hating on Mahomes, but you tell me I'm not fucking watch the Chiefs game because they're fun to watch. I'm not gonna fucking watch the Jets if I was a New York Jets fan. That's why I look at J-Rob. I'm like, you continually do that to yourself. Remember Radell, Lani, when we were on freaking open field on PC, and J-Rob's like, we got Tim Boyle this week. And sure, he played with them. But I'm like, bro, Zach Wilson was bad. The Trevor Siemian was bad. He's like, Tim Boyle, though, he's going to get it done. J-Rob, listen to yourself. Like, so I'm saying, you don't have to do it. You just choose to. Accountability.
Andrew, my solution to tanking is kind of cutthroat. If you're like, I have the 3 strikes you're out rule. If you finish bottom 3, like 2 out of 3 years, you lose your pick. Whatever, deal with it.
I think that's pretty crazy in my opinion, but
pick.
My thing is,
if you get like fined or like you get like investigated that you were intentionally tanking, you lose your draft pick. Fuck it.
Yeah, the process was kind of crazy. I do think they should be very punished for stuff like that when it's like years on end. But for me, I mean, Andrew, my thing is, the fans can make their voices heard. I think the disconnect here is that I don't think tanking is the problem, and I think the anti-tanking proposals from the NBA is actually worsening the product. I don't think it's helping the product. So that is my biggest point. I don't think any of this is really going to create a better experience for the fans. I agree with Mark Cuban. Tanking is not the problem. The product and how it's presented, how easy it is to watch. Like, you have to have like 7 streaming services. Now I have a plug, so I don't need that. But most people need like 8 streaming services to watch NBA games. That's crazy. I'm not going to lie. Tickets are not super cheap. So there's things that fans can do. And when there's situations when they're bad for a continuous amount of years, it helps a team raise its value and raise the experience if a bad team can get a good player. It just does. A team doesn't want to watch mediocre every single year. Like they would rather see a tanking team finally get a good player, be bad for a few years, than watch the Sacramento Kings or Chicago Bulls every single year get like the 13th pick. That's just truth. And that's what fans want, that new shining star. And the Pistons are now happy as hell that Cade Cunningham is turning out to be that player.
A few years ago when they won like 14 games and we thought like, oh, this shit is terrible. Like, oh, Cade. People were already giving up on Cade. It was like his second year. Like, they're like, oh, the Pistons are just going to be dirt forever. Now they're one of the best teams in the East, if not the best team in the East. Like, shit takes time.
It does take time. So for these teams, I think this tanking stuff at the end of the day is a red herring. And I think the draft lottery is bullshit. I'm finally there. Like, Lani named a few teams that is crazy, with Zion and then Pelicans, with LeBron James and the Cavs, with Coop and the Mavericks, with Wemby and the Spurs. At some point, 2 + 2 = 4, ladies and gentlemen. It's just, come on. What are we doing here?
They literally said, like, hey, Spurs, we're giving you a super team again. Like, they give you Wemby, then you drafted the rookie of the year, Stephon Castle. And then you got
and I think Dylan Harper is nice as hell, bro. He's just on the bench.
Dylan Harper. But also Stephon Castle, if that's your third option, what was it last week? He had a 40-point triple-double? He had a 40-point triple-double. He's their third best player. Like, what are we doing?
And then De'Aaron Fox has been cooking. He's been they're arguably their best offensive player I think no, for sure, their best offensive players. So it's like the Spurs get to get a good team again, man. Shout out them. So boo-hoo Spurs fans. I'm sure they're super pissed that they were tanking to get Dylan Harper, Castle, and Wemby. I'm sure they're angry right now. I think they hate life.
Carter
Whereas
Bryant
me,
and Carter Bryant also looks like a future all defensive player. So it's
like, come on. I wish I didn't. I can be a Spurs fan right now. Like, we're good. We got a dynasty. Come on now. All right. We hit the hour mark. Any final things before we wrap up?
Look, it is a shame that whenever this process is trying to fix some of the problems that the NBA has, it has been motivated by gambling. The problem is they're trying to fix the wrong problem. And the problem is, even if they magically fix whatever tanking is, you still have load management. The season's still too long, right? You still want to expand and you want to get into Vegas proper. Like, there's still a whole bunch of other problems that the NBA still needs to fix to make them, I guess, more competitive with the NFL. The NFL literally does not care about you anymore. They'll Christmas is on a Tuesday. The NFL's putting a game on that day. They don't care anymore. So like this is not going to fix the main problem with your sport. And until people finally decide to have that discussion, Radell, Lani, because we know those problems. This fix right here that they're trying to get us focused on is not going to fix the problem. So it's just like
I think someone said it recently that the NBA has made themselves, maybe it's due to the Magic Johnson era and Larry Bird era, that they've made themselves a star-driven league. And ever since that, they've been able to constantly replicate stars that have been making the league poppin', from Magic, Larry, to MJ, the GOAT, to Shaq, to Kobe, to Duncan, KG. And now you've had Steph, LeBron, KD, Harden. Now the NBA is in a weird situation because it really just doesn't seem like they want to push the new stars properly because, and I hate to be the guy, but it just seems more true and true. They are trying their hardest to make Ant the face of the league, and he's not the best player, not even close.
They don't want to push the new international stars. Let's keep it a stack because Zion should have been the guy. He wasn't. John Morant should have been the guy. He wasn't. Maybe they even tried maybe a little bit of LaMelo. He's not. Like they've had their chances, and now
I think they would have pushed Shea more if Shea was born in America, not Canada.
I agree, but also Shea seems more nonchalant. Like he's more the more nonchalant type of dude. Sure, he's into fashion and all that stuff, but he's not American. For some reason, people care about that when they shouldn't. Like Wemby's amazing. Just push Wemby. Who cares if he's French? Just push him. Because that's the guy that's going to get you to your game.
He's not going to give you that superstar lifestyle that they want to sell and portray. He's not.
But Steph Curry didn't have that lifestyle either.
That's where I'm at. Steph Curry didn't have that.
He still goes to bed at 9 p.m. He doesn't like talking to girls. He doesn't like going out. Like,
bro, I'm sorry. So
I agree with you.
The NBA needs to change how they market. The NBA needs to change how they market. Wemby literally went and kicked it with Shaolin monks for like a month. I'm sorry. If I'm the NBA, I'm marketing that shit. That's insane. We've never seen that before.
I agree.
Find different ways and stop, because I get it that it's worked before, but guess what? This is a whole new superstar, a whole new breed of superstars. If Jokic is at horse races, guess what, NBA? I got a camera there too. Now we all learn about horse races in the offseason. Like, just figure out a different way, because this way of trying to get this guy who's out and about, going to the club or going out and doing all these things, that's not this new superstar in the NBA. So find a way to market that thing. It's crazy to me. It's crazy to me. Like, Jack John, that's dumb. That's dumb. That's dumb to me. Because now you only want to put them in this freaking box. Guess what? These 4 freaking players, Luka's in that box too. They don't fit that box. They don't.
And
so why are you now? You're getting mad that they don't when you could just make a whole new box.
So he said, like, he's like, oh, they got Wemby, he said they got Wemby, they got Shea, they got Luka. He's like, I don't need to be the face. He's like, he doesn't want none of that attention at all.
And also,
And
maybe
I
this
don't
idea that
blame
there needs
him.
to be a
But then
face
we
of
got
the
people
job.
like Stephen A. Smith going like, the face of the league is Ant, the next MJ. I'm like, bro,
And Ant's like saying,
no,
because Ant knows what that
he's
comes from.
not.
He doesn't want that shit. He does not want that shit.
He's not, and that's fine. But okay, fine. We got to wrap because this is agenda hour. We only got an hour.
Yeah.
Final
Also,
stuff.
one last thing. I think also the top people we allow to talk about the game do a lot of harm, and they just let it happen. Kendrick Perkins should not have a microphone in front of his hand anymore, in front of his face. I'm legit serious. He's legit bad at his job. From literally spitting out racist notions to just not knowing anything about the sport. We all love Inside the NBA, but Chuck blatantly just hates on this. Shaq doesn't even watch the fucking game, right? So now guess what? Jalen Rose is better at talking about the game than Shaq. People just like Shaq because he's kind of funny, even though it's crazy to me. Just because I get it, them niggas don't like Rudy Gobert. Shaq, I'm sorry. Blame your mama because you was born 20 years too early, my nigga. I don't know what to tell you. Rudy makes money because of the thing. But it's just like the people we allow to talk about it, Stephen A. included. And Stephen A. at this point, he's still trying to talk about basketball. Meanwhile, he's slowly trying to Radell, you talk about on your pod about his political ambitions. Like the people we allow to talk about the game prominently also do a lot of harm to the game. But we don't even want to have that. We can't have that discussion right now.
Yeah, that's another agenda hour. But prayers out to Mexico. I don't know if y'all saw, but they just killed like the most violent cartel leader, and the responses it's bad right now. They just shot up an airport. They're blowing up houses and buildings. They're going crazy. They got their own tanks out there. It's crazy right now.
Oh, something tells me that there's a certain
busy.
orange man that's going to take advantage of the chaos. Something tells me
They're
that is
literally
very possible.
destroying the whole. They're literally destroying the whole city right now.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. I think this probably would be a worthwhile, as long as we'll just leave that for a different conversation. Anyway, with that said, ladies and gentlemen, that is all we got for Agenda Hour. Brand new show every single week, Sunday, 2 p.m. EST, where we talk about the most pressing agendas of the week. Everybody was talking about the NBA taking on conversation, so we felt like we had to as well. Per usual, tune in to our podcast that goes live every Tuesday, 9:15 p.m. EST, and Open Dojo every other Friday as well, where we have a lot of great content, a lot of great conversation. So with that said, if you guys enjoyed, rate the podcast 5 stars, share with your friends and family. You have a good one. Take care. Peace.